Okay, so have you ever, watched one of those courtroom dramas and thought, hey, I could totally do that? Well, today we're doing a deep dive that's going to take us beyond the TV version of lawyering, right, into the real world with some help from RoleCatcher. They've got this whole career guidance platform, tons of resources. We're going to break down what a legal career is really like, whether you're just curious about the field or actually thinking about law school.
And trust me, it's a lot more than just objecting in a courtroom. There's so much more to it.
Yeah, that's what they all say, right? So let's get into it. Where do we even begin?
RoleCatcher's lawyer guide is really great, actually. They really get into like the core of what lawyers do, their responsibilities, and it gets way more detailed than just what you see on on a TV show.
Okay, so for those of us who haven't read it yet, break it down. What does a lawyer actually do all day?
So basically, I mean, the simplest way to put it is they give legal advice to their clients, and then they represent those clients, when there are legal proceedings. But it's not as easy as just knowing the law, right? RoleCatcher gets into some skills you need that I wouldn't have thought of, like social perceptiveness, which is kind of interesting.
Wait, really? Social perceptiveness. Okay, I understand, like judgment and decision making, that makes sense. But social perceptiveness, that sounds like, I don't know, something a salesperson would need, not a lawyer.
Right, exactly, and that's what's so interesting, right? Think about a trial lawyer, right? They have to be able to connect with the jury, see how they're reacting to stuff, and then change how they're arguing based on that. So that's social perceptiveness, being able to read people, figure out their motivations, and then use that to make a stronger case.
So it's like, you need to be a legal detective and a mind reader.
Exactly, and a storyteller. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
You have to present the evidence, weave a narrative that hits with the jury, all part of the job. And all that comes after a long, tough educational journey.
Which is where RoleCatcher's whole lawyer career stages section comes in.
Yeah.
They don't make it sound easy, honestly.
It all starts with those tough first years, right out of law school. You're the junior lawyer, assisting the senior lawyers, tons of research, drafting legal documents. It's like a crash course in the real world of law.
Legal boot camp, basically.
Pretty much. And then once you've gotten some experience under your belt, RoleCatcher says a few years on average, you move up to like associate lawyer.
Which means?
More responsibility, for one thing.
Yeah.
And you're interacting with clients a lot more. You're managing your own cases, making decisions that affect people's lives. It's a big step.
Talk about pressure. And it doesn't stop there, right? It doesn't RoleCatcher say that you need to specialize more and more as you go, especially these days?
Definitely. The thing is, the law is always changing. It's getting more and more complex, especially like intellectual property law or anything with technology.
Yeah.
Clients want someone who really knows their stuff in that specific area, an expert.
So let's say, okay, you've put in the time, you've got the experience, maybe even a specialization or two. How do you actually land the job? Because from what RoleCatcher says, it's a jungle out there.
And that's where they become even more helpful, honestly. They bring in AI, artificial intelligence, to give you an advantage.
AI. So you're saying I need to build a robot lawyer to help me out?
No. Think of it more like a secret weapon for your job search, right? Because a lot of recruiters, they're using these automated systems to go through applications now. But RoleCatcher, they've got these tools that can analyze job descriptions, see what they want, and then help you rewrite your resume and cover letter to match. Like, exactly.
So it's like having like a digital career coach who's like, hey, for this job, play up your research skills, but for that one, your courtroom experience is better.
Exactly. It's all about strategy, you know? But even if you have an amazing resume, even if you kill it in the interview, RoleCatcher doesn't, sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
They're upfront about the not-so-fun parts of being a lawyer.
Yeah, because it can't all be winning cases and high drama, right?
Not even close. You'd be working long hours, under pressure constantly, and you're going to face ethical dilemmas that'll make your head spin. If you're thinking about law as a career, you have to know what you're getting into.
And they do talk about how to handle that stuff, right?
For sure. Mentorship is huge.
And networking. Don't forget about networking. Actually, they have a whole section on how important it is to build a good professional network. That's good advice for any career, really.
So true. They talk about joining those bar associations, going to legal events. It's like building your own team of advisors who can help you out, give you support, be there when you need to vent after a hard case.
Because let's be real, even seasoned lawyers need someone to talk to sometimes, right?
Oh, 100%. And on that note, I think we've covered a good amount in this first part of our deep dive.
Oh, we've barely scratched the surface. But don't worry, we'll be back soon to really dig into the world of law. All thanks to RoleCatcher, of course.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of law. We're still going strong with all these insights from RoleCatcher, and I'm like, okay, we talked about what lawyers do, but what I really want to know is, how do you actually become one? It's not like they just hand you a gavel with your diploma, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no, RoleCatcher actually lays it all out, like the whole academic path, and it's intense.
Okay, so walk us through it. Where do you even start?
Well, you got to start with a bachelor's degree, right? That's like your foundation for, building that legal expertise.
Okay, that makes sense. But does it matter what you major in? Like, do you have to do something specific? RoleCatcher mentions a few that are really helpful, like political science is a big one, or criminal justice. Even business administration can be useful, depending on what you want to do. But yeah, most people, they get their law degree after, their bachelor's. That's where you dive into legal principles, court procedures, all that.
So no escaping those all-nighters in the library, even for future lawyers.
Not really, no. But here's the thing. RoleCatcher emphasizes how important other subjects are too, like English, history, philosophy. I was surprised by that.
Really? I wouldn't have thought those would be top priorities.
Yeah.
Why those?
Because being a good lawyer, it's not just knowing the law, right? It's about being able to communicate those ideas, to think critically, to understand the history behind everything, like the context. You have to write well, argue your points clearly, think about things from all sides. Those humanities courses, they help you build those skills.
Okay, yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Like, if you're going to be a legal eagle, you got to know how to fly through an argument.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate psychology either. RoleCatcher actually talks about that one specifically, and it's more important than people realize.
Okay, now that one I'm really curious about. Why psychology?
Think about it. When you go to a lawyer, you're often dealing with something really difficult, right? Legal battles, criminal charges, family falling apart. You need to understand people, why they act the way they do, what motivates them. It's all connected.
Wow, okay, so you're not just a legal expert, you're like delving into people's minds too. Talk about pressure.
Tell me about it. But all of that is just to get you ready for the big one, the bar exam.
Dun dun dun. I mean, everyone's heard of the bar exam, but what's the big deal with it?
Oh, it's a big deal. Like the final boss battle of becoming a lawyer. You know what I mean? RoleCatcher lists it as one of the certifications you have to get. It's known for being really hard, tests everything you learned in law school, how well you can think under pressure, everything.
So let's say you crush the bar, you're officially a lawyer. What then? How do you actually start a career?
Well, RoleCatcher has your back, of course. They've got this section, Getting Started, Key Fundamentals. It's like a roadmap.
Let's hear it. What's the first step?
Internships. They say that's key for actually getting real-world experience, putting what you learned into practice.
So it's like a test drive for being a lawyer.
Exactly. You might work at a firm, for the government, even a nonprofit. It's about figuring out what kind of law you want to practice, what really interests you. Plus, you start building your network early, which is huge.
And speaking of networking, RoleCatcher talks about that a lot. They suggest joining legal societies and organizations.
Yeah, it's true. What they say, it's not always what you know, it's who you know. Being part of those groups, you meet other people in the field, you learn from the more experienced ones, you hear about what's new in the industry. It's all valuable.
Like having your own personal team of legal advisors, basically.
Exactly. They can mentor you, give you advice, even tell you about jobs. So helpful.
Makes sense. Now, they also talk about pro bono work, especially for people just starting out. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, for sure. So pro bono work, it's basically when you offer legal services for free to people who can't afford to pay. It's a chance to give back to the community. You'll get experience in different areas of law and really help someone out.
So you're like a legal superhero using your powers for good.
Exactly. And it's not just about being altruistic either. It's good for your career, too. You gain experience, new skills, and it shows potential employers that you're serious about justice. They like to see that.
Win-win.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about something I'm sure every aspiring lawyer dreads, the interview. Any tips from RoleCatcher on how to, totally nail those?
They have a whole section on it. They even have this cool thing where you can practice answering typical legal interview questions, get comfortable with them, like having a personal interview coach right there on your phone.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So what kind of stuff are they looking for in these interviews?
Well, they focus on what law firms want, right? Can you think analytically? Are you detail-oriented?
Right.
Can you handle pressure? Because trust me, there's a lot of that.
I bet. Anything else?
Oh, and they say don't forget those soft skills. Communication, negotiation, and yeah, that social perceptiveness we talked about, that's huge.
So it's not enough to just know the law. You have to be able to really connect with people, too.
100%. Because at the end of the day, law firms want someone who can handle the legal stuff, obviously, but also someone who can build relationships, talk to clients, the whole package.
Finding that balance between legal brain and charisma.
Exactly. And with that, I think we should probably move into, what it's really like to actually work in law day to day.
All right, let's talk about it. The nitty-gritty, the real deal of being a lawyer. What's it actually like? All right, so we talked about the whole journey of becoming a lawyer, right? The studying, the exams, all the networking. But now I want to know what's it actually like? RoleCatcher kind of hinted that it's not all glamorous.
Yeah, let's just say those TV shows, they don't show you everything. It's a demanding job, a lot of pressure, more like a marathon than a sprint.
Okay, so paint us a picture. What are we talking about here?
Remember those late nights studying back in law school?
Yeah.
Get ready for more of those because you're going to be working a lot of evenings, weekends too sometimes. Especially when those deadlines are coming up, it gets intense.
And I'm guessing those deadlines aren't just about turning in a paper on time, right? There's more at stake.
Oh yeah, way more. You're dealing with people's lives,
Yeah.
their jobs, their futures, sometimes their freedom. And that is a lot of responsibility. It can feel pretty heavy.
So it makes sense that RoleCatcher mentions high stress levels as part of the job.
It's not just the workload, it's the whole environment. You're juggling cases, clients who are, demanding going up against other lawyers. It's a lot to manage.
And you probably need a certain personality to deal with all that, right? Not everyone can handle it.
Oh, definitely. You have to be able to think fast, stay calm when things get crazy,
Mm.
argue your points well, and all while being professional, of course. It's not for everyone, that's for sure.
Not for the faint of heart. And on top of all that, RoleCatcher mentions the ethical dilemmas that come up all the time for lawyers. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, it's not always clear cut, right? You might have to defend someone you don't agree with or take a case where, the law and what you believe are kind of at odds. It's tough trying to balance what your client needs with your own moral compass.
That sounds really difficult. How do lawyers even handle that kind of pressure, those gray areas?
That's where having mentors, having a network is so important. RoleCatcher, they're big on that, and for good reason. You need that support system, people you can go to for advice or just to vent when you've had a rough day.
Even the most experienced lawyers need that sometimes, right? Someone to talk to.
Absolutely. Having those people you trust, other lawyers, mentors, even friends outside of work, it makes a huge difference. They can give you a different perspective, tell you about their experiences, remind you you're not alone in it.
And speaking of tough situations, pro bono work can be like that too, right? Challenging, but also really rewarding. RoleCatcher seems to think it's a really important part of being a lawyer.
It is. It's a chance for lawyers to use their skills
Mm.
to help people who really need it, people who maybe couldn't afford a lawyer otherwise. You're using what you know to make a real difference.
And it's not just about being, altruistic, right? It's good for your career too, isn't it?
For sure, you get to try different types of law, meet new people, learn new skills, all while doing something good. It's a win-win.
Totally. Well, I think we've covered a lot today. Any final thoughts for our listeners who might be thinking about a career in law?
I think RoleCatcher sums it up best. It's not a career for everyone. It's a lot of work. It's challenging, and it can be really emotionally draining. But if you're truly passionate about the law, if you love to learn and be challenged, and you really want to help people,
It can be incredibly rewarding.
exactly. And if you're ready to take that on, RoleCatcher is a great place to start. They've got everything you need to get going.
Couldn't agree more. They've given us a lot to think about, and who knows, maybe even inspired a few future lawyers out there. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and remember, the world of law might be complex, but with the right tools and a little determination, you can find your place in it.